We value transformation, but are we willing to be transformed even if the end is uncertain? Do we dare, like the caterpillar, to enter the darkness of the chrysalis without knowing what's on the other side? Will we enter into the labyrinth without a map? Without knowing our course, will we raise our sails and trust the wind? Let us enter this time together and, not knowing where it might lead, trust to be transformed. Con espíritu de reverencia, reconocemos que nos juntamos esta mañana en la tierra de los Kumeyaay, quienes continúan viviendo en todo su territorio. Al emprender este viaje juntos, mantengamos en nuestros corazones y mentes el pueblo Kumeyaay. In a spirit of reverence, we acknowledge that we gather this morning on the land of the Kumeyaay, who continue to live throughout their territories. May the light of this candle shine for our commitment to the Kumeyaay people and to justice and equity for indigenous peoples everywhere.
Now we invite you to rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, Where Do We Come From? We'll sing this in two parts. You can sing along with Tomas and stay with that part, Where Do We Come From? Or you can switch over to my part when I come in, the mystery part. Or you don't have to choose. You can go back and forth.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
Mystery,
where do we come from?
mystery,
What are we?
life is a riddle and a mystery.
Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Diego, where we worship each Sunday in the South Bay, in Hillcrest, and online. Our mission is to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values to help heal the world. I am the Reverend Justine Sullivan. I use the pronouns she and her. I serve as one of your ministers here, and this morning I have the privilege of serving as worship associate as our Director of Lifespan Faith Formation, Tony Bianca, leads our service. If you are visiting this morning, I extend to you a special welcome, and we invite you to fill out the visitor card in your order of service and return it to the welcome table. And if you're joining us online, you can also fill out a visitor card at the link on the live stream page or in the YouTube service description. We would love to connect with you. And if you've been coming here for a while and are starting to feel like maybe this is your spiritual home, we invite you to consider becoming a member of this community. You can learn more about becoming a member at the welcome table or by contacting Valeria Aguilar, our membership coordinator. Welcome to this space. Bring all of who you are in all the beauty of languages, cultures, and skin tones that come together in your uniqueness. You are welcome here. In all the ways you experience and express gender, you are welcome here. In the beauty that is who you love and how you love, you are welcome here. In all the ways that you live, move, and experience your embodied self, you are welcome here. with all of the religious and ethical traditions that inform your spiritual life. You are welcome here. Join us as we live into our shared values with love at the center. We're so glad you're here.
And now we invite you to rise in body or in spirit once more and sing our church hymn, followed by reciting the church aspiration.
Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad con libertad y ayudarnos mutuamente en comunidad. A eso aspiramos. Good morning. Sorry, friends, the button was hidden. I'd like to invite all the children and youth who would like to come down and join me for our time for all ages. And there are costumes. Ooh. Only if you want to. Only if you want to, though. Oh, they're right here. Oh, weird. Oh, it won't fit. My head is too big. Well, friends, today we're thinking about a story from Greek mythology. And it's a story that has a king, a princess, a hero, an inventor. Oh, I'll give them out in just a second. Hang on one second, friends. And a monster. There's a podcast of Greek mythology? Cool. Maybe you'll know this story. So I brought some costumes. We're not going to do a ton of acting today, friends, but I just thought it would be fun to have some costumes. And listen to this part carefully. Whatever costume you get today, if you don't get the one that you want, I have a couple of each one, Miss Kate is going to take all of the costumes with you, and you can try on as many as you want once you're down in your group, and I'll give them out one at a time. So, would anybody like to be our inventor? Anybody want to be our inventor? Well, hold on for 1 second. We'll get there. Miss Kate's going to be our inventor. Woohoo! Nice job. Would anybody like to be our princess? All right, princesses, come on up. I see 2. Perfect. Oh, I see 3. We're going to skip the capes. Let's see. You got a cape already. It is. So how about, would you like this one? You want to put that on your head yourself. Would you like this one? How about purple? There we go. Oh, would you like this one? Whoa. Oh, you don't want that one? That's the only one I got left. So that's that one, or you can be a different person. Would you like the cape instead? Oh, I don't have another one. I only have this one. Do you want this one, or do you want to try and be another person? Here, why don't you hold on to that one, and you can share your sisters when you get to Ari. Would anybody like to be our king? No, we need a king. You might want to be the king. Sean, you look very kingly up there. There you go. And would anybody like to be our monster? Oh, we have a monster. Any other monsters? You gonna be a monster? Have some different monster masks. Eeny, meeny, miny, guess. No? Anyone? Anybody else? All right. We're also going to do some walking around, friends. So, here is our story. Once upon a time, there was a king named Minos. Now, Minos was the king of Crete and was the son of the god Zeus and the human princess Europa. Minos was not a very nice king because he didn't obey the god Poseidon. So Poseidon punished him with a monster that had the body of a huge man and the head of a bull. Whoa. In Greek, the word for bull is, does anybody know? Oh, you're close. Taurus, right? Like the sign. And so, this monster was known as Minos' bull, or in Greek, the Minotaur. The first problem King Minos had to solve was what to do with the Minotaur. To solve this problem, he called on the help of the most brilliant inventor and architect of the time, Daedalus. After much thought, Daedalus designed and built a labyrinth, that's a big maze, underneath the palace at Knossos. The labyrinth was a maze so complicated with so many twists and turns that even Daedalus couldn't figure his way out without his designs. Once completed, the Minotaur was put at the center of the labyrinth and could not escape. The second problem King Minos had was that the Minotaur, like many monsters in these kinds of stories, would only eat people. But Minos had conquered the neighboring city of Athens, so he sent his soldiers to bring back 14 youth that will be put in the labyrinth and fed to the Minotaur. Dun, dun, dun. Now, there was a prince of Athens. Would you like to be our prince? You sure? Want to be our prince? Oh, I thought that might do it. Now, there was a prince of Athens named Theseus. Lost my place. When he heard about what was happening, Theseus insisted on being one of the 14 youths to go to Crete. He didn't really have a plan, but he couldn't bear the idea of sending someone else in his place. When Theseus and the other Athenian youth arrived, they were taken to a banquet hall where they would be given a big feast before being sent into the labyrinth the following morning. As they were led to the banquet hall, they were seen by the princess Ariadne, who immediately noticed Theseus, who stood out from the group, as heroes in these stories sometimes do. Ariadne couldn't bear the thought of Theseus and the Athenians being fed to the Minotaur, so she decided immediately that she would do everything she could to help them. Ariadne went to Daedalus. Since he designed the labyrinth, she thought he might know the secret of getting in and out alive, but alas, Daedalus couldn't help. Eventually, just as she thought there might be no hope, Ariadne came up with an idea. The next evening, as everyone gathered to watch Theseus and the others be led to the labyrinth, she said to her father, "Theseus is a prince. Surely you'll at least let me give him my cloak as one last royal gift to keep him warm." King Minos couldn't say no to his daughter, and he couldn't see the harm in letting Theseus wear a cloak. So with her father's permission, Ariadne went to Theseus and gave him her cloak. As she handed it to him, she briefly kissed his cheek and quickly whispered, "Tie one end to the entrance and follow it back." Theseus had no idea what she meant, but noticed that the cloak felt oddly heavy. Only after the guards had led him and the others into the labyrinth and locked them in did he realize what she meant. As the others gathered around the dimly lit entrance, Theseus put the cloak on the floor and opened it to find 2 items. Are you ready, Theseus? A sword. Can you hold up your sword? Whoa. And a large ball of red thread. Wonder what we're going to do with that. Maybe tie the monster up? Maybe. Immediately, he knew what Ariadne's confusing whisper had meant. Telling the others to wait in the entrance chamber, Theseus handed them one end of the string and told them not to let go. Oh. Can you hold on to our string, Ethan, super tight? Don't let go. Don't let go. Okay, Theseus, you ready? You want to come with me? Can you hold that on your hand? We're going to walk this way. You want to walk with me? Let's go this way. Taking up the sword, he began to walk deeper into the labyrinth. As he walked, he let the thread unravel behind him. Sometimes he would come to a dead end and need to turn back to try another path. And when this happened, he would roll up the thread until he got to the next passage he wanted to try. And then he would let the thread start to unravel again. Eventually, after a long time of trying different passageways, Theseus heard the distant sound of the Minotaur snoring. He followed the sound as it got louder and louder until he crept silently into the chamber of the labyrinth where the Minotaur swept. Moving as slowly and silently as possible so he didn't wake up the horrible monster, Theseus took out his sword and slayed the beast. Never again would the people have to live in fear of being sent into the labyrinth. With the Minotaur defeated, okay, here we go. They simply followed the thread back to the entrance chamber where he told the others what had happened and let them know that everything would be okay. The next morning, Theseus and the others were released. Now, you might think, as sometimes happens in these stories, that Theseus and Ariadne sailed off together as husband and wife. But that's not what happened. Theseus sailed home with the other Athenians and lived out his life as the ruler of Athens. His ship was placed in the harbor as a memorial of the time he defeated the Minotaur and saved the youth of the city from the labyrinth. Theseus had suggested that Ariadne come and be the queen, but she had a better offer. She remained in Crete and married the god Dionysus, one of the 12 Olympians, who eventually made her immortal so that they could live happily for all eternity. As an immortal, Ariadne became the Greek goddess of labyrinths and paths. And one more piece of trivia for you. In ancient Greek, a ball of thread is called a clue. It's spelled C-L-E-W. And because of how popular Ariadne's solution to the labyrinth was, now anytime we find a small piece of a small fact or a small thing that helps lead us through a complicated mystery to the end, we call that thing a clue in her honor. So thank you, friends, for helping me dress up and act out our story. Thanks. I'm going to invite you to stand now up here, and we're going to lead our congregation in our affirmation. We'll say it first in English and then in Spanish. We are Unitarian Universalists, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands. Somos unitarios, universalistas, personas de mentes abiertas, corazones amorosos, y manos que dan la bienvenida. And now, friends, I'm going to invite you to head out to the patio to meet your RE leaders. And Miss Kate's going to take the costumes in case you want to try on some more.
Beloveds, we pause at this time in our service to honor the memory of Benita Berkson, who died at age 90 on April 24th of this year, at home with her beloved Barbara by her side. Benita had been diagnosed with a serious cancer, and she decided not to pursue aggressive treatment, saying that she had had a good life and she had done most of what she wanted to do with her life. And we will learn more about Benita's remarkable journey at her celebration of life on Saturday, August 23rd at 11. She was a beloved member of the larger San Diego community, in particular of the lesbian community. Her name and picture are included on the San Diego Lesbian Her Story website. And she has been, of course, a beloved member of this First UU community. And it was here that she met her spouse and life partner, Barbara Davenport. And we send our love and care to you, Barbara. We light a candle in Benita's honor and memory. And to mark the weightiness of the loss of her, we extinguish the flame of our chalice, symbol of our gathered community, because our company is diminished by the loss of her. Yet the light of this community continues, and Benita's spirit lives on in the stories and memories we share and the work we carry on in her stead. So from her candle, we relight our chalice. This community of memory and hope shines on, and Benita lives among us in the heart's long memory. In mystery we are born, in mystery we live, and in mystery we die.
A few announcements. Lay ministers are available after the service to offer a listening presence. If you have a joy or sorrow you would like to share, this morning's lay minister is Marianne. Here we go. Look for the yellow scarf. If you would like to learn more about us and see some of the many gems of our campus, I encourage you to take our campus tour immediately after the service. Dave Hunt will meet you right up here after the postlude to be your expert guide. A reminder that we're heading into the season when colds, flu, and COVID are traditionally more prevalent. As we continue to care for one another in community, we ask that you please stay home and engage with us online if you're feeling sick or if you know you've been exposed to someone who's tested positive. Taking that simple step helps us to keep our congregation safe and healthy. One way we live our values each Sunday is by sharing our offering with an organization working for justice. Throughout the months of July and August, our offering is being received in support of the Pink Haven Coalition. Pink Haven is a collective of organizations and individuals who are committed to trans liberation and to growing alternative systems to care for gender-diverse people. They are working together to create networks of safety and direct support for all those who need to relocate, access health care across state lines, or stay as safe as possible where they are. You can give through text to give at 619-333-3040. You can also donate this morning in person through cash or check through one of our stations in the center, or on our church's website, firstuusandiego.org. Thank you for your generosity. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received.
Let us breathe together for a moment, entering into a time of meditation. We invite you into a time of reflection and song. Between each period of guided reflection, we will sing a verse of the song De Noche. You may join in singing the refrain, or you might also choose to use the time to continue reflecting silently. Like Theseus, we are often confronted with situations that are confusing or frightening. It might sometimes feel like we're lost in a maze with no sense of what lies around the next corner and no end in sight. What labyrinths do you find yourself facing? What systems, stories, beliefs, or constructs have you feeling trapped or lost?
By night we hasten in darkness to search for living water. Only our thirst leads us onward. Only our thirst leads us onward.
Often, as we think more deeply about the ways in which we feel frightened or trapped, we find that there is some belief, situation, feeling, or experience that is the central issue around which everything else revolves. What is your Minotaur? Is there some old belief or experience that you find yourself wanting to confront and transform?
De noche iremos, de noche, que para encontrar la fuente, solo la sed nos alumbra, solo la sed nos
As we navigate uncertainty and face our fears, it's important to remember that we don't have to do that alone. Who is your Ariadne? Who is the person or community of people who support you and guide you and surround you with love as you navigate your labyrinth?
By night we hasten in darkness to search for living water. Only our search leads us onward. Only our thirst leads us onward.
As we hasten through the darkness, supported by those who love us unconditionally, we might also be guided by positive beliefs, affirmations, and mantras that motivate and guide us. What is your string? What ideas keep you going when things feel frightening or confusing? If you have a favorite affirmation or mantra, I invite you to repeat it silently to yourself now. And if you don't have one, I invite you to think of one that might support and sustain you.
So you've heard the story of Theseus, and now we're going to explore a little thought experiment that has to do with Theseus' ship. So imagine, as we described at the end of the story, that Theseus has sailed home victorious, and they set up his ship in the Athenian harbor, much like the Midway sits in our harbor, as sort of a floating memorial to Theseus' victory. And as ships are wont to do, it needs to be repaired. So over years and decades, and eventually centuries, piece by piece, one part of the ship is repaired. First some small stuff, maybe the rigging or just a plank, and then eventually the big stuff, the rudder, the sails, until a time comes when not a single splinter of the original ship is left. It's all been replaced in repairs. And so the Greek philosopher Plutarch asks, at that point, is it still the ship of Theseus? And if not, at which point did it change? Was it the first time a plank came off? It's not 100% anymore, so it's not the ship of Theseus. Was it at the 0.01 mark, when it's mostly now no longer Theseus' ship? Or was it Theseus' ship all the way up until that last speck got replaced, and now it's 100%? Later, Thomas Hobbes adds sort of a part B to this thought experiment and says, imagine that some archivist was saving up all of the old pieces as they were replaced, and then they build an entirely new ship with all of the original pieces. Is that the ship of Theseus? Do we have two of the same thing now? And so this question really gets at the heart of transformation, change, and what makes a thing a thing. So I think this might be an interesting way to think about our congregation and the work that we're going to be doing in the next 2 years. But first, we're going to need some extra context and vocabulary. And for that, we're going to turn to another ancient Greek, Aristotle. Specifically, Aristotle's thoughts about metaphysics. So it's a fun fact, at least I think it's a fun fact, that Aristotle never actually uses the word metaphysics. He talks about first principles. But that word comes later when someone named Andronicus of Rhodes is arranging Aristotle's work. And he put a couple books, and then there's Aristotle's treatise on physics, and then came this treatise on all this like woo-woo new what makes a thing stuff that Aristotle had written, and Andronicus didn't know what to call that. And so he called it the book that came after the physics, Ta Metaphysica. And so the book became known as the Metaphysics, and that's where we get that word. It's a reminder that librarians are more powerful than we realize. So broadly speaking, this is a huge brush, maybe even a spray paint. Aristotle says that everything has a form, a physical part, the part that we can touch and see and sense, and a substance, an intrinsic, invisible thingness that makes it what it is. In the ship of Theseus thought experiment, we're interested in how things change over time. So using Aristotle's model, we have 4 possibilities. First, the form and the substance stay the same. Like this order of service that just sits there, it's not very interesting. Second, the form changes, but the substance stays the same. So if I crumple this up, I've changed its form, but its substance is still the same. It's still an order of service. You would recognize it as such. The third option is that the form changes, and that changes the substance. Like if I burned this order of service, which I'm not going to do, that would really transform what this thing is. And when we Unitarian Universalists talk about transformation, I think this is the kind of transformation that we're talking about. It's the kind of transformation that gets me out of bed on a Sunday morning to come do this, right? The belief that we can make a small change even in the physical world, and it somehow transforms the nature of the world. And then there's a fourth option. The form stays the same, but the substance changes. So later on, Thomas Aquinas capitalizes on this option in the Middle Ages as a way to explain Eucharistic theology. Because the substance changes and not the form, he called that thing a transubstantiation, which ex-Catholics like me might be familiar with. We don't share that theology at all, but I imagine we might encounter other situations where everything looks the same, but underneath, something essential has shifted. So with that language to help us engage with the thought experiment, let's come back to Theseus' ship and think about that as a metaphor for our congregation. What exactly is our congregation? How would we define it or describe it? How has it changed over time? And at what point might we have become something different, maybe even without knowing it? These questions, at least to me, feel especially important now as we face some big decisions in the next few years. We're going to continue planning our sustainable future, those questions that address our physical spaces and their long-term sustainability. And we'll begin the process of searching for and calling a new lead minister. Reverend Justine has 2 more years of developmental ministry with us, and so now is the time when we're going to start thinking about what comes next. Both of these tasks will involve thinking about who we are, what we've become, who we want to be, and then making decisions to support that vision. So imagine the congregation as the ship in our little experiment. The first question I would want to ask is this: is there something that makes First UU, that is more than just a combination of the people and facilities? So to use Aristotle's word, does the congregation have a substance? In the nearly 10 years I've worked here, there have certainly been times when I'm focused on the form, the immediate details of the people or programs or issues that are in front of me, but there are other times when I experience something more. Sometimes that something feels like it's emerged from us, kind of like an emergent principle like Adrienne Marie Brown talks about often. And other times, it feels like it's been under the surface all along, this deep, inherent thing that sticks its head up every now and then. So I'd invite you to reflect on this when you have more time and think if you agree. If so, maybe even try and notice more specifically when you experience something about this congregation that transcends its form. For now, though, let's assume that there's something there, and I wonder what it would be like to describe it. Some parts of our physical campus, like this tree, the memorial wall, the canyon, and more, are incredibly meaningful aspects of our communal life that help support our mission to create community and nurture spiritual growth. But what would it be like, even as an exercise, to make a list of what makes us us that was all substance and no form? No people, no places, no physical things, just substantial qualities that make first you, first you. Maybe give that a try sometime. And if you do, feel free to share it with me. I'm going to give you some more homework before we're done too, and I'll remind you at the end what that is. For now, though, let's assume that there's something substantial here, and we're going to ask the question, how has it changed over time? Because make no mistake, we have changed. That much is certain. And what we really want to know is what kind of change it's been. Maybe it's just that superficial change where the form has changed, but the substance has remained the same. We've remodeled some rooms. We have some new staff. We definitely have some new technology. But maybe we're essentially the same as we've always been. Or maybe we've undergone a deeper transformation that's changed us on some fundamental level. We may have even experienced some form of transubstantiation, some way in which our essence has changed without anything appearing to shift on the surface. In the decade I've worked here, we've gone from 3 to 2 ministers. We've launched a food pantry that feeds over 500 families a week. We have faced major conflicts. We've weathered a global pandemic. We've expanded our online footprint enormously. We have welcomed new members, and we have mourned the loss of others. And I would find it hard to believe that those things have not substantially changed us. Even if everything else stayed the same, I think the pandemic fundamentally changed who we are. I think it made us deeply aware of how important connection is in our lives, but I also notice in myself and others that it made us less likely to leave the house. We crave connection, and it seems like we also need a lot more incentive than we used to get out and connect with each other. So again, I invite you to take some time later to think about how you think we've changed and to what degree that change has impacted who we are as a congregation. But for now, one more aspect of this little thought experiment. The big question that the experiment asks is the ship still the ship of Theseus? But there's a part of the experiment that never, to my knowledge, gets talked about, and that's this. Someone has to decide when to replace the parts of the ship. So as we do the work of addressing these big questions over the next few years, I wonder what stories are we telling ourselves about ourselves that are no longer accurate? One story that I encounter a lot of in my work related to our programs is what I think of as the "if you build it, they will come" story, right? There is a time when we could come up with a great idea for a program, when we'd advertise it in the window, and then people would just show up. And it's been my experience over the past couple years that that story is just no longer accurate. We still need to advertise our programs, obviously, but unless they have a group of folks who are already interested, new programs have been extremely challenging to get off the ground. That older consumerist model of programming has changed, and I think we need to embrace a more relational model of programs. So when folks come to me with ideas for new programs, or sometimes, my favorite, when they come with ideas of programs they think I should start, right? I begin with this question. That sounds interesting. Who else have you talked to that's interested in attending? And I guess what I'm saying in a nutshell is I don't think we're going to advertise our way into being a more vibrant, engaged community. We're going to have to do the work of building relationships. Another story that I hear quite a lot, especially when we talk about our physical campus, is that we're hard to find. So let me be clear. I agree that we are not on a major thoroughfare and we don't have a big bell tower announcing that we're a church. But in terms of our physical location, I would find this campus, if I didn't know where it was, the same way I would find anything else. I would Google it. I would plop the address into any one of 4 or 5 apps in my phone, and the global positioning system would drive me right here. Now, it might take a few moments at the end, like any new place I've been. Every time I'm at a new dentist, I'm like, where is the actual suite? But I would get here, right? We absolutely need to spread the word about who we are if we intend to grow, and we need to tell people where we are, but I'm not sure that our location is the obstacle. And again, let me be clear, I'm not trying to like come down on a side or stay or go. I'm just saying I think wherever we land, our physical location is not necessarily going to triple our numbers, right? In some ways, this is the same if you build it, they will come story. Assuming there's lots of people out there who would just love being part of us if only they could find us. And in some ways, I think that's 100% accurate, but I also think that this story of us being the hidden gem or the best kept secret is part of our identity that maybe doesn't serve us very well. It tends to keep us passive. We're here waiting to be found. And maybe that part of the ship needs replacing. And so now comes for me the hard part. After raising all those questions for you, how do I land this plane, right? Or maybe more appropriate, how do I bring this ship safely into harbor? So first, if nothing else, I hope that I've given you something to think about and a new way to engage with some of these questions that we're going to be engaging with over the next couple of years. Secondly, I'll invite you again over the next day or so to do some of these exercises for homework. Consider if you think there's something emergent going on here, something that's bigger than just the space. And if so, notice specifically when you experience that. Try making a list of what makes us us without referring to people, places, or things. And think about the ways in which we've changed in the time you've been here and how those changes have impacted who we are on a fundamental level. And then finally, at the risk of being a little sappy, I'd like to end by saying that however we might define ourselves and whatever decisions we make about who we are and where this ship is headed, I am honestly and deeply glad that I get to be on the deck sailing these ships with you. The congregation has been a tremendously important part of me living into what I consider to be the best years of my life. And I can't express enough my gratitude for that. So, to paraphrase the song we're about to sing, heaven knows where we are going or how we get there, but I know we can and I know we will. So let's go, friends. Second star to the right and straight on till morning.
We invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, Wo Ya Ya.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within that we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there.
we extinguish this flame, may its light continue to guide us, even when the road is muddy and rough. Blessed be.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, you can sing along, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now the rain has gone.
Or the pain.
All of the